And I do just really want to talk about this one topic because I think it is an important one to talk about. And look, is this an overreaction to one like one game? It is. It is. It might be an overreaction to one game, but I don't feel like this is based on what I'm going to be telling you guys. I'm going to be giving you guys my opinion. So don't immediately dislike this video until you at least, have some idea of what I'm saying or some opinion on what I'm saying. So, what I got to say here is the Aaliyah Boston contract might be the death of this team. And let me explain. So, if the Indiana Fever lose in the first round of the playoffs, I think we can all come to the conclusion that it's just not going to work. That the big three is just not going to work. If you lose in the first round of the playoffs, after being one game from the finals with a big two, and you lose in the first round of the playoffs with a big three, especially when two of the big three are going to make the all WNBA first team, you basically have to say, look, this shit mightn't work. Might not be working. And you then have to think, okay, what can we do about that? You have to think, is it the big three problem or is it our roster construction? Okay, if we want to say, okay, it's our roster construction. Okay, what can we do? Lexi Hull's a negative asset. You're gonna have to attach picks to get off her. Monique Billings is a negative asset. You're gonna have to attach picks to get off her contract, or take a bad contract in return for one of them. Maybe another team's problem. Maybe we could take another team's problem, and that could help. But that doesn't help long term. Sophie probably gone. They can only afford a minimum. Aaliyah Boston goes from making like 12% of the cap to making 20% of the cap next year. Or is it, 15? 15% of the cap to making 20% of the cap. Kelsey Mitchell is not going to play for less than a maximum. She's just not. She'll walk. She'll take the money elsewhere. She'll walk. If the Fever try to underpay Kelsey Mitchell, she'll walk. If the Fever make the finals or make the semifinals and lose in a tight one, maybe she goes, okay, I'll take a little bit of pay cut to stay. If the Fever lose in the first round, which they fucking might, she's not going to play for less than max. And Caitlin Clark has her epic extension. If you lose Kelsey, I don't think the team is gonna win without her, because you can't replace her with anybody. If you lose Kelsey, you lose her for nothing, and you don't really have cap space. So you have a choice, and it's like, if you bring Kelsey back, you basically have to. You're not getting your first round pick this year. But if you bring Kelsey back, you're gonna have to give up that first round pick to get off one of Lexi Hull or Monique Billings contracts. And what then is going to happen is, like, Ty Harris is going to command more money in the open market. You've lost Justine Passat, so that could have been somebody that could come in a role. And you just don't have a championship team. Like, this is going to be the best the big three are going to look together. Based on the way the salary cap is, because of what they've done with Aaliyah Boston's contract. Because, by the way, if Aaliyah Boston took the max this year, they couldn't have afforded either Ty Harris or Maisha Hines-Allen. If Aaliyah had taken the regular max instead of under the regular max this year, which is why she's getting super max, they couldn't have afforded either of them. There were minimum contract players instead that they would have taken. So there's the problem there. And you've now got a situation where, like, the Indiana Fever, because of the Aaliyah contract, like, her contract is going to next year start to look very quickly like the Lexi contract. Like, it's going to start to very quickly look like the Lexi contract, because I don't care about the counting stats. Her production is less than last year's. especially when Caitlin's there. I'm not saying she's been better or worse this year than she was when Caitlin wasn't there, but like she was in MVP conversations when Caitlin was playing last year. So like that has to be taken into account. The problem is now is that Caitlin and Aaliyah don't seem to know how to play with each other anymore, and it becomes a huge risk because you've basically got your starting five right now. Like the best team you can potentially put together is like you have to trade Raven. Coming into the offseason, you have to bank that a team believes in Raven Johnson. If you want to keep your first round pick this year, you have to trade Raven. And Sophie's probably gone. It's just not a good enough team. You replace Ty Harris with somebody worse than Ty Harris. You replace Maisha Hines-Allen with somebody worse than Maisha Hines-Allen. And because of the way this team scouts, it's going to be a 34-year-old washed player, and who knows, they might take Sid Colson out of retirement after Sid Colson's become an op. Sid Colson is like a media fever hater, and they might just take Sid Colson out of retirement because he hasn't officially retired. Like, I'm convinced Sid Colson joined the Indiana Fever just to kickstart her comedy career. Like, and someone said Ty Harris in my chat said Ty Harris deserves more playing time. If you based off today, she deserves none. And this front office isn't good enough to find value in the minimum. So, look, this is an overreaction to a game where you're like, this Fever team was awful. Like, absolutely awful. And look, sometimes you're just like, you've gone from Toronto to Dallas with only a day break. It's a long trip. And then you're going from Dallas to New York and then New York to Chicago. Like, it's a long trip. But like, if you come up against Atlanta in the round one and somehow go and fuck it against Atlanta, lose home court advantage, and then get swept on your home floor. If something like that happens against Atlanta, it is tear it down. And Kelsey Mitchell's a UFA, so she walks for nothing. Or you can fast track your rebuild by getting rid of Caitlin. And not only that, you can fast track a rebuild. You can fast track a rebuild by getting rid of Caitlin or trading Caitlin, and you can probably get off one of the bad contracts. It is concerning. And just like I've talked about it, if the Dallas Wings suck next year, you have to start talking about getting rid of Paige. But this epic provision is the worst thing. And like, it's going to ruin Atlanta, by the way. If Angel Reese makes the All-W second team, and it's looking like she might, it's going to kill the Atlanta Dream. The epic provision is one of the worst things, is going to destroy teams. And the problem, again, is that the Indiana Fever mortgaged their future for this year, and now you have the 15th best player in the league getting paid a supermax. And unless your name is AJ Wilson, you're not worth 20% of the cap space. Yeah. It's a pity. And again, if things don't work out, because we've seen in this league, you do not pay scoring guards. You do not pay offensive guards. It is a clear thing looking at the top teams in this league. You do not overpay offensive guards. Any team up the top does not have a scoring guard. A scoring guard who's not an elite two-way player like a Courtney Williams or a Jackie Young on big money. So the Fever are the only one that do, and the Fever have two of them. And I don't know if paying both of them is going to be the smartest thing. And look, I'm overreacting to a game. If the Fever even win a playoff series, this conversation is pointless. But if the Fever lose in round one, there's a chance they do it. And if the Fever gets swept in round one, this might be it.